This is a trade recap going over today. As we saw in the morning, we had a lot of chop, so I didn't really take much in the morning. There wasn't really much for me to take. And then going in the day, we had this very important SPY floor at 768 that pretty much played like a big role throughout the day. Like price kept holding there. There was an area where you could have played calls here, where you had the 721 floor on QQQ right here, and also the floor on SPY at 768. We ended up getting that bounce. So I'm gonna go over the trades I took now. I drew my fib from IB low to IB high. Wrong way. I drew a bearish fib setup, and the reason I drew a bearish fib setup was because the upside was capped, right? And the way I like to look at skylit is that if the upside is capped and we have more downside and the risk reward to the downside makes more sense, then the IB low will be broken and we'll probably see an extension from that IB low. So that was my kind of my bias for the day, because I already saw we had I believe if you actually pay attention here, we had this SPX king node up here, which made it so even if this IB did break, you'd only see a 5-point move to the upside, and that risk to reward didn't really make sense. SPY also had this 768 node that was pretty much pinning it, and it was stuck within a dollar range with the 769 as well. So SPY was within that dollar range, and like SPX had gatekeepers, so I didn't really see much upside happening. Now we did get the 618 short, but the main short I liked a lot, and this is my A+ setup for today, was the 50% retracement into the golden zone and rejection of 720. And over here at 720, like I'm pretty sure if you actually drew the fib like lower here, this would have been like a 618. Yeah. Like if you drew it to like that low instead of the IB low. So you got a pullback, and then we tested this 721 node, which they actually rolled the ceiling down. So when they rolled down the ceiling as bearish, they rolled down that ceiling on QQQ. SPY had the 769, which was a very strong positive node, so I used it as a gatekeeper. And then we also had the 769 where SPY could have seen a bounce. So we had that. Then on SPX2 we had the 7710. So there was like that small positive. So there was like 2 out of 3 alignments that I saw in the indices for the short at the 50% retracement, and then we got the break of the IB low. So that was pretty. That could have been my one and done. I'd basically bet on the fact that the IB low would have gotten broken, and then that's what we got. We got the break, and then Q's just like kept dumping and dumping, and something nice. It was the bottom tick longs I took, where we had this liquidity sweep right here from this low on SPY and SPX, and QQQ had the 716 positive node here, which was gatekeeping the 715 from hitting. Now on NQ, if you actually look, this was a strong liquidity level over here off of this wick. So if I just mark this out at these lows, I completely missed it. I didn't even mark it. So right there, right? And that was a sweep, and then we had this for today. So we swept out that weekly low, which was major liquidity area, and then we got a nice leg back up. So this was also the longs that took back up, and we had the 716 QQQ node, also aligned with the SPY and SPX double bottom here from these lows, where we swept out liquidity as well. Then we got the move back up. I personally took profit at the 718 just because I thought the 718 would reject, and we did get a nice dollar move down, but then we ended up testing back these ceilings, and we got a ceiling to floor flip where they tested back the SPY and the QQQ, and then we kind of just pumped up. Then SPX, right, they rolled the ceiling down once again over here into the PM. They rolled the ceiling down to SPX, QQQ at the 719. Once we got below it, if you played shorts, then you had a nice move back down to 716. And towards the end of the day, I'm pretty sure SPX and SPY made a new low a day, literally right into the close. Like I mentioned this at mock. I said SPX ceilings rolling down a mock, and then we got a nice short down and ran like 200 to 300%. I also saw some people catch 2K% on this SPX put, which is pretty insane. Like that was a crazy move down. And then we got a nice bounce literally like right at the end when they put in the SPY and the QQQ4. So like those were the those are the best and ideal setups like I saw for today. I think like the IB setup one being this 50% retracement right here into the golden zone, all the way back down again to these gatekeepers. This would have been your best play for the day, and you got the nice move down. So it wasn't a bad day, and there were definitely scalps you could have played for the day. Like I took some scalps, um, and those were like most of the trades I played. So yeah. This session was pretty short just because like we chopped around for most of the day, right? So there's not really much for me to talk about just because the 768 node on SPY was pretty stubborn. And you could literally see like towards the end of the mock, right? They killed out this node completely, like it lost 1 billion exposure and they grew this node an insane amount. So this node on the velocity was growing a lot when we saw the dump coming, which is pretty important to see and visualize as this is happening. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video that I made, and I'll be explaining like all the order flow stuff and everything, and hopefully some people get like an understanding about like the IBs and everything and being able to read where the breakout's gonna happen, because that alone is a pretty good and solid strategy to use. It has a good statistical edge, and Heatseeker just gives it a crazy edge. And everyone's getting access to Talon tomorrow, so tomorrow you'll be able to pop up here and just ask Talon and talk to Talon and stuff. So yeah.